Good evening. I'm Michal Chamberlain, President of Massachusetts for Bank of America, and I'm thrilled to virtually be here with you for this year's Chef-a-Thon. As we all know, coronavirus has had a significant negative impact on our communities and a disproportionate impact on vulnerable populations here in Massachusetts. In response, we've partnered with many organizations that are working to address some of our community's most pressing needs, especially access to healthy and nutritious meals. That's why we're so proud of our partnership with Lovin Spoonfuls. I want to thank Ashley and the entire Lovin Spoonfuls team for working around the clock to rescue and distribute healthy, fresh food that would otherwise go to waste to the communities across Massachusetts that need it most. We know that working through this pandemic was no small feat. And further, I'm excited to congratulate you on the distribution of your 20 millionth pound of food. What an incredible milestone that we all can celebrate, albeit virtually, with you here this week. Cheers to our long-standing partnership and continued success. Now let's enjoy tonight's demo.
Hi, my name is Joel Simonson, the Development Officer for Lovin Spoonfuls. Welcome to Chef-a-Thon. We're grateful to you all for your wonderful support. This week, we are joined by some amazing chefs. Special thanks to chefs Daniel Bajorquez, Tracy Chang, Karen Akunowitz, and Douglas Williams for sharing your time and your talents with us. We hope you enjoy.
For people in the inner city, it's hard to get healthy food because it's expensive. I mean, I used to drive all the way to Boston to get cheaper products because it would be expensive here. So having that support there that I don't have to worry about having food for my kids, gives me peace of mind.
Food is a basic human right from a very basic biological level. No matter where we are in the community, no matter how closely or indirectly COVID is affecting our life, food is what we need to survive, to recover.
Hi, my name is Becca, and I've been a food rescue coordinator with Lovin Spoonfuls for 2.5 years. Each day, I rescue an average of 2,115 pounds of food from grocery stores and farms in Watertown, Waltham, Weston, and Brighton, and bring it to communities in Alston, Cambridge, Somerville, and Jamaica Plain. Thank you so much for joining us for Chef-a-Thon, for supporting the work I do on the road. Please enjoy the program.
Hello, I'm Chef Tracy Chang of PAGU restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Thank you for joining me today at home in my kitchen here as I prepare to make congee for the Lovin Spoonfuls Chef-a-Thon. So I thought it'd be nice to make congee because it's something that I make all the time, and I'm using simple ingredients that you can find in many home pantries, especially mine. So I have here several raw eggs, as well as one already cracked in a bowl. I'm going to show you what we can do with simple staple ingredients as humble as egg, rice, or any other spent grain that's leftover or dry, as most people have in their homes. I have some other dry ingredients here, like dried anchovies, some dried shrimp, ginger, just cut in these rough knobs, kind of lazy lady's cut, dried shiitake here, and later for some nice toppings I have some pork floss, which is common in my household, some pickles here with some, these are pea shoots that my husband picked up, and this is my leftover rice. So why I want to make congee today is that I think it's a dish that makes a lot of sense if we are talking about food insecurity. So I was pretty astonished to learn that in my neck of the woods in Cambridge, where my restaurant is located, that 1 in 8 people are food insecure. In a city as rich, as innovative, as educated, as populated as Cambridge. So if 1 in 8 in Cambridge is food insecure, and just down the street and around the corner, 1 in 5 in Chelsea are food insecure, I think there's something that we need to do to help our communities in need. And thankfully, Ashley and the team at Lovin Spoonfuls, they've actually taught me a lot this year about food insecurity and about what we as restaurant owners can do about it. Lovin Spoonfuls is an organization that serves over 80,000 pounds of food, redistributes that to communities in need each week. And since COVID, has distributed over 4 million pounds of food in just about a year now. So Ashley has actually mentored and inspired me as a restaurant owner who typically cooks for people who want to eat, to really transform my business to be a hub for mutual aid, to feed people who need to eat. So one of the things that we do now in our restaurant is that we repackage groceries for families in need. It's an initiative we call Project Restore Us. And some of the ingredients that we are able to send to families that are longer lasting include 25-pound bags of jasmine rice and 25-pound bags of black bean, and all different kinds of other grocery items that we repackage for these families based on their needs, based on their demographics, their dietary restrictions, allergies, etc. So it's really, it's really helped me redefine what I can do as a chef for my community, what I can design that isn't just a menu for a restaurant, but a grocery box for many families in the area. So thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Lovin Spoonfuls, for teaching us how to be active members in our community. So this is, again, congee that we're going to make today. It's something that these families could make as well using the ingredients that they find in these grocery boxes that we've been supplying them. And it's a dish that you can also make at home using the ingredients that you have on hand as well. All right, so I have 2 pots of water boiling here. In this one, we're going to make our stock. So using these dried shiitake here, we'll add in some of the dried anchovies, the dried shrimp as well, all this ginger going in, all right, chopsticks, mixing this around. So in my Taiwanese American upbringing, it's super common to use dry ingredients like dried shiitake, dried shrimp, dried anchovies, maybe some dried oysters occasionally to make a stock. If you don't have any raw proteins lying around, and maybe that's something that's difficult to access, then you can use these dry ingredients that carry a lot of flavor. We're going to take the leftover rice as well and go ahead and add that in here. Just going to add a little bit more liquid since this has been boiling for a bit. So my pot here is about 70% full now of all those dry ingredients, that fresh ginger, leftover rice, and we're just going to cook that down. We are on medium to high heat here. Meanwhile, let's see what we can do about these eggs. All right. So these eggs I actually have had here at room temperature, and I've soaked them in a bit of water, room temp or warmish water, so that we can make a 6-minute egg here. This is going to be a 6-minute egg. Right. There we go. All right, so let's turn on that timer for 6 minutes. All right. So for the first 2 minutes, I'm actually going to stir this egg around to center the yolk. I want to make sure that my egg is completely submerged in the liquid. And why I wanted to soak that egg originally in kind of warm water was that the egg, if it's been sitting in the fridge, then it's going to be chilled. And if you put a chilled egg into hot water bath, then it will crack. And so I've soaked it in lukewarm water for a bit so that it doesn't crack. And now I'm simply just stirring it for the first 2 to 3 minutes of the total 6 minutes on this large egg. About 50 grams this egg. So let's center that yolk. Let's see, it's about 1.5 minutes in now. Go. Right. Okay, so it's about 2 minutes now. I can stop rotating it, stop spinning it, and I'm just gonna make this into an ice bath here. So just setting aside that ice bath so that I can later drop this soft boiled egg into the ice bath to make it more easily to peel. This guy still not coming up to a boil just yet. So again, if you have any ground meat, you have leftover bones, you had barbecue yesterday, you have carnitas lying around, whatever it is, you have hamburger meat, you can also use that for your congee. You can use that for the stock, you can use that for finishing if you like to have kind of chunks of meat in it. In this case, I'm having it be these dry ingredients that I really enjoy. And my meat will be this dried pork here as a garnish on top. Right, this egg is still going. Okay, so we just kind of wait for things to simmer here. Alright, so this is about time. We're going to take this egg, go into the ice bath here, make sure this guy doesn't boil over, pull this off. I'm actually going to keep that water going and show you how to do a really quick poached egg. And this guy I'm going to rinse in cold water. So actually, see this egg? I'm actually going to crack it on each end a little bit all the way around and let that soak in the cold water. That way that egg will be a lot easier to peel. Right, see this guy, high heat here. Nice. This one back here, I'm going to take that egg from earlier that I already cracked. Right? And that's it. Turn the heat off on this pot in the back here. Cover it with a lid. Give it a nice little shake so that that egg white can move around and help make like a nice beautiful poached egg to kind of coagulate there. And here we have this nice kind of rumble and boil here. So I'm actually gonna take this last egg, crack it in here. Alright. And this egg, I'm just gonna toss it in, stir it around with my chopsticks, and naturally this will just help thicken my congee. And I've turned the heat off here, but it'll help to just naturally thicken the congee with just the proteins in that egg, which is nice. So some people like their congee a little soupier, you know, more watery, more runny, kind of like ochazuke, which is a Japanese kind of version of this, which sometimes uses tea. You'll find congee throughout China, throughout Taiwan, throughout Japan, and everyone just kind of makes it, you know, their own. The consistency is a little bit different, the ingredients are a little bit different, but the idea is still the same in terms of, you know, making the best of what you have in terms of that grain, and any kind of dry ingredients or preserved ingredients like pickles are super common, and yeah, and just making a very, very homey dish out of it. All right. I like to add black pepper. My parents prefer white pepper, but I like black pepper. Okay. Got some sea salt here. Some people like to add some dark soy sauce, up to you. Right, nice and thick. If you like hot sauce or chili oil, you can add that as well. I'm about 39 weeks pregnant, so I'm going to lay off the chili oil today. Right. Back here, my poached egg. Remember that? We cracked in the back here, and that poached egg is pretty darn perfect. We just cracked that into boiling water and covered it, turned the heat off, and now less than a minute, maybe. Yeah, looking good. All right, haven't forgotten about the other egg over here I had in the sink. Remember, I cracked the two ends of it. Now it's super easy to peel. Look at this. All right, you can just put it back in the water there to kind of help pull that eggshell off. All right, 6-minute egg here. In the restaurant, we make a lot of these. We soak them in a mixture of soy, mirin, sake, and leave them overnight. And that flavors the egg white to then be a soy marinated 6-minute egg. This one I'm probably too eager to eat right now, so I won't spend the time to marinate it. We'll just add it into our congee. Right, so it's kind of squishy. See that? That's how you know it's a 6-minute poached egg in there. 6-minute egg. Soft yolk, firm white. All right, so what we're gonna do, we have this egg and that egg. Again, eggs 3 ways. Right? Congee is ready here. See how nice and thick that is? I like it thick. Okay. So have my dried shrimp, dried anchovies, dried shiitake, lots of ginger, throw in some pepper there. She'll probably throw in some chili flake too. Okay. Right, more egg in here. Throw in my pickles. If you like any fresh greens, I have my pea tendrils here. Right. Okay, my pork floss. Yum. Okay. Spice drawer here. A little bit of togarashi, so maybe just a little bit of heat. Save this so that my family can have some breakfast tomorrow. And again, this is delicious breakfast, lunch, or dinner. This is really food for the people. And as you see, have my beautiful bowl of congee here. Have my eggs cooked perfectly, 3 different ways. You can barely even see all the rice because I have all these toppings. But let me just show, yeah, look at that yolk. Perfectly poached. And that 6-minute egg, look at that runny yolk. All right. So thanks for joining. Thanks for joining me here. And I hope your congee is the way that you like it, as delicious as mine looks. And thank you for supporting Lovin Spoonfuls and for helping us battle food insecurity. Cheers.
Chef, that was so great. I'm excited to dive into your dish and get into a little bit of conversation. But first, I have to say, right now, while we're talking, you're literally about to pop.
Yes, I have been incubating a few things, including a bun in the oven. So maybe you guys could tell from that video that I might have been a little bit out of breath from some contractions.
Well, it's been awesome that you made the time, and thank you for fitting it in with everything else that you've been doing and everything else that's been going on.
Yeah, thanks for staying tuned to our work, and more importantly for leading the way, for showing us how as chefs we can really be a part of the conversation, and in the past year really be a part of the action.
Let's talk about what you're doing on that, because so much of what was part of the founding inspiration for Lovin Spoonfuls was really watching hospitality and understanding that, low waste is a part of the business model and making sure that everything is utilized. And hospitality is struggling, no doubt, this last year, but you did something really incredible and sort of gave new meaning to the word pivot that everybody has used this year. But talk to me about Project Restore Us.
Yeah, so the idea came from a friend of a friend who was looking for a bag of flour early on in the pandemic, and
She didn't feel safe going to the local grocery store, and she asked our mutual friend Larissa, and she said, "Oh, do you think restaurants can still get flour and yeast? And I just want to bake some bread at home, and I don't want to. I don't know what's going on with this virus. Like, how do I get in touch with people who might have flour?" Um, and that has turned into an incredible relationship, um, where I did not let her bike home with 50-pound bag of flour on her bike. And we've become, kind of like the best of friends in really thinking through, like, hey, if you need a bag of flour, then other people possibly, want to share that bag of flour. And that turned into, hey, you should start a grocery store in your restaurant for just people in the area. And then that turned into, wait, if the people who can afford to buy groceries in this part of Cambridge, and nearby in Somerville, what about all the people who can't afford to buy groceries? How do we reach them? There's these government funded grants. We could apply for these grants and we could feed more people.
How was that balancing, sort of trying to keep PAGU in operation just with takeout, and then sort of getting the grocery store up and running, and then the Project Restore Us up and running? Because now you're doing like delivery grocery store to suburbs.
Yeah. That has always been at the forefront of everything that we do, is how can we do it with the team that we have? How can we do it keeping indoor dining closed? Only carpooling to work with the team that we have, providing PPE, continuing to stay in touch with everyone. I remember being like, hey, you guys need gloves? We just found some gloves.
I remember that.
Just being as resourceful and keeping our eyes and ears open. I will not take credit for most of the ideas that have come through during COVID. But, with our team, we have figured out how do we get that done.
I mean, it really is. It's one of those things where, and these conversations sort of happen whenever we're talking about food, that anybody who has an interest in food sort of inherently has an interest in people, right? Because food is people and feeding people, and there's just something really powerful and really personal about that. I think one of the things that has been hard as an observer, not in my role at Spoonfuls, but as somebody in the world and in the community, is watching the last year, sort of the collision of COVID and the challenges that caused, and sort of the social moment that we are all in. And now we're hearing about a massive wave of Asian American violence and hate. And I think we've been moving through this this period of just struggle and challenge and sort of person to person hate. And I wonder what that's been like for you as a part of that community.
As a female minority-owned business, as an employer of a team of 100% Latinx employees, race, the conversation of race and color and inequity has come up just so much more in the past year. And even in the work that we do to serve communities in need, all these communities are marginalized people of color communities. So it's, it feels like finally the right thing to do in helping serve these communities and talk to community organizations who have been helping their recipients of these grocery boxes for many years, and to listen to what they need, what they have in terms of infrastructure,
But it's also, at a time which is not necessarily the easiest, right? We just went through a major, overhaul in our political system.
I hope so.
We've been through a lot, I think, as a country, as a restaurant, as individuals. And yet, like, I haven't personally experienced it, say, like on the streets in Cambridge, because I've mostly been, within the walls of my restaurant. But I have heard stories from friends who have been, attacked verbally, physically, in public spaces in the Cambridge area. And so, that doesn't feel like safe anymore. And it's a tough year, right? Like, I didn't know that 1 in 8 families in Cambridge are food insecure. And until we started working with Cambridge Mutual Aid and Cambridge Community Foundation, and I didn't know from my friend until it happened, that they could be, that unsafe and physically and verbally attacked on the street in Cambridge. It's such a melting pot of a place. And it's, technically a safe haven for a lot of undocumented people, just like Berkeley, San Francisco are safe havens, that you would think that, oh, this could never happen in my neck of the woods. But it does, just like COVID, it's not something you just read about in the paper. I remember early on in COVID, some of my employees didn't believe it was real. They thought it was hoax until it was hitting their communities in Chelsea, in East Boston. Every day that we would drive to and from work, I would say, look at that line. What do you think that line is for? That line is, people in need waiting to get a COVID test. That line is people in need outside of the Salvation Army waiting to get, a box of food. Those are real people, real lives, real lines. And, this is no different in terms of the violence.
Yeah, I mean, you put it right there. It a lot of times we don't see it. And I think COVID really exposed sort of every vulnerability about marginalized communities. But as we start to look at who was affected and where the safe havens were, restaurants are safe havens, right? They're safe employers. It's a safe place to get a job, to be able to come to work. And when that disappeared, we saw folks in communities that were getting hit the hardest get sick first and get the sickest. And so I think, as an employer of a food business and now working, with the Project Restore Us and all that, you can see sort of holistically and sort of in a 360 way, just how powerful food can be as a healing component.
No, it's been, an incredible year. And I think it's really put things into perspective. And we're just lucky to still be around, and also to just have incredible, guidance and leadership from folks like Lovin Spoonfuls and you, Ashley. So thanks so much for teaching us how to do this.
Well, somebody taught us, and it was right back from the chef community. So wishing you a lot of love, a lot of health, and an early mazel tov. So I will talk to you soon, and hopefully see you sometime soon too.
All right, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for night 2 of Chef-a-Thon. Thanks again to Chef Tracy for sharing your story, your cooking, and your commitment to feeding people with us all. So don't forget to check out Project Restore Us. And I also want to thank our community sponsors and everyone out there for continuing to be there for us and for everyone that we serve. See you tomorrow for night 3 with Chef Douglas Williams. Thanks. Good night.